All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to yet another day of matches here in Red Lock 2025. Got a couple of interesting matches here on our hands. Plenty of more to come later today, but right now we're starting things off in the second round of the losers bracket. For this weekend, this is going to be Jason versus noncycle here. Start off this losers bracket round, and already underway are the bans. We did get Jason with the first bans. They opted for the Nomad 2 into the Nomad 1. Nomad 6 ban from noncycle, and and Hard Rock 2 from noncycle as well. So pretty quick into these things, and Jason also with the first pick, so we'll see where they choose to go for here. Now, Jason hasn't played any matches thus far in this weekend. They did have a forfeited match from Rip Me to Shreds in yesterday's, what would have been a matchup last night, but that got forfeit. But for noncycle, they actually had to play against Gempio yesterday, and they ended up beating them pretty handily. 6-0 was the final score on that one. So we are going to get things kicked off here, though, with the Hard Rock pool going right into Tiferet. A little bit of finger control here on this Hard Rock 3. It's also relatively high CS. It's CS 6.5, but these players are prepared for this. Yeah, one of these players will move on. One of them will be eliminated from the tournament here, but Hard Rock 3 to start things off from Jason. This is a more tame KTG map. That's still going to be pretty difficult all the same. We do have a little bit of slowdown in this beginning section. For the most part, accuracies are going to be pretty even, about 94% each for these two players to start things off, but it's really going to come down to the aim control and I think a little bit of finger control here for these two players. But Jason's going to be finding the first miss on this beginning section. The jumps do get pretty heavy in snaps, so it's understandable that they did find a couple of misses thus far, but noncycle is still not yet to trade, so that is going to give a pretty sizable score advantage for the time being, already about 35,000 points, and climbing continually. But noncycle finally finds a miss, about a third of the way through the map. Jason now has a pretty good recovery built up for themselves, and the accuracy might have waned a little bit, but it's still respectable, about 95%. We're going to get into the first KI section here, and Jason does end up getting the first miss going into it. Noncycle does trade it, though, but still holding on to about 40,000 points of score advantage here, going halfway into the map. Gonna need to see a couple more mistakes from noncycle if Jason wants a way back into this, and yeah, Jason finds another miss, but noncycle does end up trading it, so that does keep it within contention here for the time being as we get into another slowdown section. Accuracy is still actually starting to pull away for noncycle now, 96% to 92.5 for Jason as he finds a unfortunate chain of misses there. So yeah, this is looking worse and worse as the first pick for Jason. Hopefully things will start to turn around here going into the final quarter of this map. And it's noncycle to find the first break in this last KI section, but Jason does end up trading it. Now noncycle will trade once more, but 70,000 points I feel is going to be more than enough to secure this break point at this point in the map. Gonna have to hope for a complete disaster from noncycle if Jason wants a way back into this one. The map is pretty much just these quads into these little sliders for the remainder of it too. So yeah, this is gonna be an easy breakpoint from noncycle. Kick things off here on the Hard Rock 3. Bit of a blunder from Jason, but not gonna be the end of the world. Kept it relatively close, all things considered. As far as first picks go, noncycle is going to be taking this one. pretty handily too. 95.82% on the final accuracy for noncycle. 92.68 I think is pretty average on a map like this in the Hard Rock. So not a bad score from Jason whatsoever, but yeah, needed a bit more to be able to best noncycle on that one. DT2 is where... Oh, excuse me? Is that DT1? DT1! You know, sometimes we fat finger the buttons that are next to the ones that we actually want to press, and that's alright. Gonna be Gold Dust here. First pick for non-cycle. Looking to consolidate on that breakpoint. This is a little bit different of a map than what we saw on that Hard Rock 3. This one features a little bit of bursts, a bit more bursts, I should say, than that Hard Rock 3. But for the most part, this is going to be pretty aim-intensive. I imagine both players are probably going to be ulting this as well. You can single-tap it, but I think it's going to be a little bit more comfortable to ult this. It's a older style map. Still going to be AR 10.3, though. Tiny step up from that AR 10 on the Hard Rock, but absolute banger of a song. And yeah, those are going to be about the extent of the bursts that you'll see. 7 to 9 note bursts, nothing really too intensive, but as far as intensity goes, this beginning section is going to catch up Jason. Trying to get another break for himself, so not a great start here as we're already past a quarter of the way through the map, and 80,000 points, which was the separating factor here for these two players at the end of that last map. Now already reaching that and surpassing it pretty handily here as noncycle continues this full combo off the beginning section. We're already halfway through this map. Noncycle's holding on to a hefty 99% accuracy FC so far. The map is relatively the same for the remainder of it, so there is room for error, but Jason essentially has to FC the remainder of the map if they want a chance back into this one. And does end up finding a break, so I do think that's probably going to spell disaster for Jason. Now, noncycle finally did end up getting their first miss. It won't be the full combo, but still, 99.2% accuracy finally falters a little bit on that last burst there, down to the 98.5, and finding a couple more misses is going to be that big of an issue here. You're holding on to a 300,000 point score lead already going into the final section of the map. This is going to easily be a consolidated breakpoint for noncycle. Very strong start. Getting the 6-0 versus Jimpio yesterday, now starting things off with a quick breakpoint into the consolidation on this match. Noncycle is on an absolute tear. That is 8 maps in a row of winning, so will they continue it, or will Jason be able to put a point on the board of their own here? It is their next pick, so 90 seconds is the allotted time that they will have to be able to choose their next map. The Hard Rock 3 might have been a little bit of a fluke. I do like where the idea was at. Jason, I think, was just gambling that noncycle might not be able to play that Hard Rock 3 necessarily as well as he was able to, but are going to be jumping in to the hidden 2. A little bit of Hatsune Miku. Absolute banger. And also a little bit of reading. Something that we haven't seen thus far in this match. So lower AR8 hidden. Does add a little bit of difficulty. It's slightly higher CS than any of the other hiddens. All the other hiddens are CS4. This one's going to be 4.5, but that realistically won't make any difference whatsoever. Pretty heavy on the overlaps here in this one. But both players going to be trading out misses on this first beginning section, so not going to give too much of a score advantage one way or the other, as they find a couple more trades as well, but This time it's noncycle holding on to much lower accuracy versus Jason holding on to a very significant 96% coming out of that beginning section, and noncycle really struggling on this lower AR hidden here. I think this pick was really solid for Jason. Now, they do end up trading once more. Jason going to be finding a break that doesn't trade out with non-cycles. That is going to put a little bit of a damper on any score lead that he's able to build up for himself. But yeah, still finding a couple more mistakes going into that 1/3 section. That actually completely negates any score lead that they had. Non-cycle finally ends up dropping once more, so that is going to put a stop to that score flipping over. But yeah, only 10,000 points and some change here in favor of Jason. They have to lock in if they want a chance to get this point and to stop noncycle from continuing further with any more points of their own. Halfway through, we do see another couple of misses come out from noncycle, so yeah, it is going to be that comfort on the low AR hidden that is not really helping them out too much so far. Only a third of the map remaining now. 60,000 points is going to be what is climbing for Jason. Looking pretty solid to get this point, the first point on the board. If it continues much further, I do think it's actually probably safe to say that this is going to be their first point, as noncycle finds yet another miss now. Jason is continuing to hold on to this combo all the way into the end of the map. Very impressive first point from Jason. Does finally end up dropping, but not going to matter. That damage has been done. Very important for them to put a stop to noncycle. The way that they did, I think if noncycle was allowed to get another break point, this match could have gotten very nasty very quickly. So yeah, very well done from Jason to be able to get that point on the board. Kind of put a damper on any potential lead that noncycle has, but still gonna need to see Jason get that breakpoint back from noncycle at some point along the line. It is still down that 1 point of deficit for Jason, so do need to see a breakpoint somewhere in order to tie things up. But for the time being, I think getting your point on the board, first point on the board, is very important. Yeah, and I'll take my 1 point, is what Jason says. I think that's a very respectable mindset to have. Get one, and worry about the rest later. Hard Rock 1 is going to be the response here for noncycle. For the second pick, Hard Rock 1. We got a little bit of tapping in this one. Just a little bit. Just shred.
She's a revolver, she break through your armor. Don't try to stop her, never seen one like her. I wanna be like
Julie Chuff's come out. This is gonna be noncycle's second pick. Jason looking to get a break point at some point. The bursts in this map are going to be significantly lower BPM than that DT1, so not going to be that big of an issue, I think, for Jason. It is still with that hard rock, so you do have a little bit of precision aspect. You still have a higher OD than what you might be used to. But so far, Jason has found a couple of misses of their own to start this one off. Noncycle does end up FCing through the beginning section. That nets them a 15,000 point advantage, but this is where the real meat and potatoes of the map starts. A lot of slider aim. A lot of these bursts. Kick sliders. It's a lot to handle here, but both players are doing pretty solid so far. that early advantage from the couple of misses that Jason found is already netted 70,000 points in favor of noncycle. This is starting to get out of control. Jason needs noncycle to find a couple of mistakes, or else this is going to be too far gone, as Jason is going to be the first to fall in this next Ki section. And noncycle is continuing to hold on to the FC, still looking solid, 150,000 points now in favor. And yeah, this is looking worse and worse for Jason on this Hard Rock 1. Noncycle finally falling, but is it too little too far for Jason? I'm not sure. Noncycle looking pretty primed to take this point. Only a quarter of the map left. I think it is very safe to say that this one is too far gone for Jason, unfortunately. Just too many misses and very inopportune times, netting a low 300,000 at the end of it all. And that is going to be a third point on the board for noncycle. Now, it was their own pick, so do have to expect them to win on that, but yeah, that is going to be 3-1, and Jason now has some thinking to do. Not fully sure where they plan on going with their next few picks. But if we're thinking gimmick, we did win pretty solid on that hidden 2. I'm looking at something like that Nomad 6 potentially as a pick for Jason. Ooh, but not going to be that Nomad 6. It's going to be Nomad 3. We're actually just sticking with our guns on some alt here. That was a very quick intermission. Down to map number 5. Jason looking to get another point on the board. Noncycle looking to stop that. Ready, gonna start this one off with a little bit of finger control that Jason was not able to quite hit. Not the greatest start, but hopefully this is a longer map, 3.5 minutes, so plenty of time for recovery to be made, but still going to be finding some struggles here is Jason. A little bit of a questionable pick, I feel like, on this one. I do think that you do have a bit more of an advantage on something that is going to be a bit more gimmick heavy than this Nomad 3, but right now it's noncycle doing some numbers here, holding through that section. Now Jason does as well going into the first PI, so that was going to be pretty hard to get, but noncycle first one to fall in this PI. Jason does end up trading it very quickly after, so yeah, this score advantage is going to kind of start to propel noncycle forward pretty quickly the further this map goes along. Right now they are pretty even grounds as far as combo goes. Accuracy as well is looking pretty even. So gonna need to see more mistakes from noncycle. Jason, I think, needs to log in here for the remainder of the map, but unfortunately is finding a couple more mistakes of their own, so yeah, this is looking worse and worse for Jason on this pick. I do fear the worst might be that noncycle is going to be able to take another breakpoint here. Now, noncycle does find a pretty hefty chain miss on that pattern, so that is going to help out Jason a little bit, but finding these random misses here and there from Jason is not helping whatsoever. That completely is going to hurt their score at the very end. Noncycle does end up trading though, so things relatively within reaching distance. Only 60,000 points. It's very doable. Slight misreads does make it a little hard for Jason. This score lead is going to continue to climb in favor of non-cycle now. So we get a little bit of a free combo section. It's going to be hard for Jason to get back here. Again, I really do feel like they have to just lock in and hope for the worst for non-cycle. And non-cycle does end up finding a break. Less than a quarter of the map remaining. Jason has to FC the remainder of the map. He has the combo to work with. The score is dwindling. Is it going to be enough? He's doing it. He is holding on to the combo. This is going down slowly. 50,000 points now. 500 combo for Jason, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And no. 40,000 points and does end up finding the break. I think even if Jason had held all the way to the end, there's just not enough time remaining. A very unfortunate ending to this map here for Jason. Non-cycle will be getting a second break point here. 4-1 now in favor of non-cycle. A very, very close one. Just unfortunate at the very end. Wasn't able to hold on nearly long enough. Non-cycle now has the chance to try to get another consolidation on the breakpoint. Will we be seeing that? That is the question. Now, luckily for Jason, there is a guarantee of at least one more pick. So not all is said and done if... Okay, we can't be doing this twice, non-cycle. This is getting out of control. It's DT4 for non-cycle. A little bit of confusion typing the wrong pick 2 times now. What? We will disregard that. Not going to be that big of an issue. We get a little bit more reading here, actually. High AR on this one. 10.4 is going to be the AR for this, so... Step up from that 10.3 on the DT1, and we saw how Jason was struggling a little bit to read that. Do fear the worst for Jason on this DT4, but we'll see how this one ends up going in the end. This is a completely different map from the DT1. A lot more finger control on this one. And I don't want to say anything, but I think the accuracies are kind of speaking for themselves on this pick. Just off that beginning section, Jason was holding on to an SS for a significant amount of time there. Now, that's only 10,000 points and a quarter of the map done, but that's a pretty solid start for Jason, I think. A little bit of a free combo section. Players are holding on to the FCs. Coming into the halfway mark, though, it's still Jason holding on to that score lead from the accuracy, but for how long? Can these players hold on to their combos? That is the question. Oh no! And Jason finds the miss! Unfortunate slider break right into that slow slider. It's such an unopportune time for Jason to find a break, and that score instantly switches over. Non-cycle is going to be getting that score advantage now. 100,000 points just like that in the blink of an eye from that one single miss. It's so unfortunate because non-cycle hadn't been holding on to combo for nearly this long in any other map, and now finally ends up getting that break, but 150,000 points of damage has been done, and it was looking so good for Jason to be able to get that break point back here, but non-cycle in the end is going to get it done. A bit closer than non-cycle would have liked, I feel. not necessarily as dominant of a point as some of the previous picks from noncycle, so solid, impressive performance from Jason, but at the end of the day, it is going to be noncycle going to match point just like that. Jason has some work to do. They want a chance to be able to continue forward in this tournament. Non-cycle at match point. That's a scary sentence to have to hear if you are the opponent. But luckily for Jason, it is their pick next. Hidden 4 is going to be the potential final pick for Jason. We'll see how that one ends up going. I think Jason exceeding expectations so far in this match. The scoreline doesn't necessarily really show the whole story. We are stepping back into Hidden. And I think we're just picking bangers, honestly. Little cytosine map. Now, this difficulty is not mapped by cytosine, but we do love a cytosine map set all the same. Also an Osu original. What a banger. Shout out to the Catch World Cup 2024, but right now we're watching Redlock 2025, and yeah, this is Jason's tournament experience. Life on the line here. This little swing hidden pick. So far, accuracies are looking a little worse for wear for both of these two players. Struggling to hold anything above 90% either player, but both of them holding on to the combos. That is the important part. We saw both players hold on to the combos in the previous pick, but it was Jason first to fall then, and it's Jason first to fall now. An unfortunate miss in this first KI section. No trade to be seen from noncycle thus far, and despite being the lower accuracy, now finally that score ends up switching over. 4% accuracy separates these two players, so if noncycle does find a miss of their own, this score will quickly switch back over to the way of Jason. That miss has got to come soon, or else this is going to get too far gone for Jason, I feel like. And noncycle is still holding on to the combo. This is such a crazy combo to be holding on to. Oh no, and finally does end up falling. It was on one of the triple patterns, so very unfortunate spot to miss. That's right about halfway mark of the map, so that'll cap your score pretty heavily, especially with the accuracy disparity being what it is, and that score is starting to dwindle very quickly in favor of Jason now. 30,000 points, though, still in favor of noncycle. Jason has to hold on just a little bit longer to see that scoreline switch over. Less than 10,000 points now. Oh, and Jason unfortunately misreads that slowdown section. Now we're keeping it within 10,000 points still, but it's in favor of noncycle, and Jason is at the combo deficit. He needs to see noncycle find more mistakes, and noncycle does get a mistake. That is the opening that Jason needed to be able to keep himself in contention for getting this point. And we're going to be really close going right into the very end of this map. Barely any map remaining now. And again, 10,000 points still in favor of noncycle. Jason has to hold on into the very end. I believe he can do it. He has the accuracy to work with, just about 2% better. But both players are still comboing, and why isn't that score switching at all? I think it's the accuracy drops from Jason. And it's still 10,000 points in favor of noncycle on the last slider. What was that? Noncycle still gets it. Ow! Jason was holding on to the very end. But it's not enough. Better accuracy, better miscount, worse combo. And at the end of the day, that combo does him. And unfortunately for Jason, that is going to do it. GG, well played to both players, but noncycle will be moving forward out of the, what is this, quarterfinals stage into the semifinals in the losers bracket. Congratulations to noncycle, and that's going to do it for now. Plenty more matches to come later today. Let me just pull up my sheet here. Starting with a match that is happening right now between Raikai and Tenzin. Actually started like just a minute ago. Later today, we've got 20 UTC. That's going to be Zex between Raikai? Oh no, excuse me. Is 20 UTC is Zex versus Raikai. That was a potential. 21 UTC is going to be Remendra versus Marwin, as well as Azer versus Flat Paper at 21. 22 is going to be Wukio versus Rupershin. And then later in the night at 0 UTC, we got Sparkly Fairy 200 versus Vesprit, and then 1 UTC is Pink Eye Fan versus Nujabes, otherwise known as TS Fury. So yeah, that's going to do it for now. In about an hour and a half from now, we do have the next block of matches, so stay tuned for that. But Evidence Pigeon, thank you so much for watching, and take care, everybody.